Have you ever wondered how sheep's wool is turned into luxurious yarn? Or been to a fiber festival and seen yarn skeins labeled with an animal's first name? How is yarn made? And what are the steps that take place between shearing the sheep and a finished hank? I visited the maker's cottage at Sterling Wool Mill in Lancaster, Pennsylvania to find out. Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel, What the Beck. Today I'm here with Beth Sterling of the Maker's Cottage at Sterling Wool Mill, and we're going to just interview her and talk about her business here and how she got into what she's doing. So, how did you get into running a wool mill of all things?
I'm going to go way back here. When I was in high school, I was in FFA and I had to chain sheep. And we had to raise the sheep. They were market lambs, so it wasn't really about fiber. And I would raise the lambs, and then at one of the farm shows, I would have to sell them. From there, my grandmother, we called her Nanny, she taught me how to crochet, and my mother crocheted. So we would start crocheting. Then life happened. And then after that part of life happened, then I got back into knitting. I learned how to knit, and then it just kept snowballing.
As it does.
With fiber, and I joined a guild, Lancaster Spinners and Weavers Guild, and I learned so much through their classes of dyeing, spinning, and at that time, the Mannings was in East Berlin, which is now Redstone Glen, Sarah Bixler and Tom Nicely, and I learned how to spin and weave. And from there, we started going, a whole group of us ladies started going to Maryland Sheep and Wool, and of course, we'd come home with truckloads of these fleeces, and we would learn to process by hand. And then we started finding some little mills. And some of the mills, how to say it nicely, it just didn't turn out the way we thought it should turn out. And I researched and saw that there was a need for fiber mills in the United States. And during my research, on the whole East Coast was mainly small homesteads and small farms. Out west is where they raise the thousands, they have ranches of merino sheep.
Oh, they've got room for them.
Yeah, and that's where they do the bulk. So that was a different type here on the East Coast, small homesteads and small farms. And a lot of the small homesteads and farms also were very connected to their sheep with each name, Bessie or Joey.
Oh,
Yeah, and so when they wanted it processed by that particular sheep because they're so connected to it. And I saw that need for small batch fiber processing. And then, unfortunately, I had a granddaughter pass away. She was only 3 years old. And it teaches you that life is short, follow your dreams. And I dove into it and said, we need a mill. And that was my dream. And so we got started 10 years ago.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Only that recently?
Yeah.
Awesome.
So how did you know what machines to buy, and how did you learn like the processes that you're doing? Like, how did you...
The processes I learned from doing it by hand. And it's just taking what you've done by hand and it's just going to a larger machine. During my time at Lancaster Spinners and Weavers Guild, I had put together a tour of Kramer yarn. I don't believe they're giving tours anymore. At that time they did. It was amazing. Their carder is as big as this room.
Oh my goodness.
It's huge. And then like the length of this room was the spinners.
Oh gosh.
It was amazing. So it was a lot of research. You have to put a business plan together. I worked with SCORE, Lancaster, with a mentor and put a business plan together, researched a lot of computer research of who makes the different machinery. Our machinery is from Belfast Mini Mills out of Prince Edward Island, Canada. Really cool, great to work with. Customer service is great.
So they're all from that company.
Yeah, they're all from that company.
One-stop shop.
Yeah.
So if I ever want to make a wall mill,
Yeah.
because if we need another one in Maryland,
Yeah.
I get some land.
So that's how I got started.
Wow, that's incredible. So where do your orders come? Like people just come to you and say, "This is my sheep's wool. Make it into."
I get orders all over the United States.
Oh gosh.
I've had orders from California.
Mm.
She does a lot. She does a lot of roving, and she does projects with her roving. I get alpaca from Kentucky. He's a veteran that does a lot of saddle blankets and really cool shawls that he weaves. So that's I enjoy working with him. He's really cool. Ohio, Maryland, New York, and a lot, Pennsylvania, since I'm here.
So when you go to say the Sheep and Wool Festival and you bring your booth, and what do you bring with you? Are you there to sell your wares and make people aware of your mill here so that they can use your services, or?
That's what the business card says, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But I hadn't done shows in quite a few years because we've been so busy here. This past year I did do the Maryland Alpaca show. I enjoyed that. It was just very comfortable.
Love that one.
It wasn't extremely busy. The Maryland Sheep and Wool and the Rhinebeck, the New York Sheep and Wool Festival. I use those as my vacation because there is so many people there. It can be very overwhelming. So I can't say I'll never do those shows, but I don't plan to right now. I'll go back to the Maryland Alpaca Show. I'll be going to the Central PA Fiber Festival.
When is that?
That one is May 17th and 18th.
Yes. Calendar.
We're in the planning stages now. I'd like to do Central New York Fiber Festival. That one's fun. Garden State Sheep and Wool. That one's really nice. And there was one other one, and I can't think of what it was. I think it was the Pennsylvania Llama and Alpaca Plow. That one's in Leesport, so I'd like to do that one also.
Yeah, I can get that. Sometimes you go for work and sometimes you go for fun. It's part of having your hobby or your main passion or interest as your job. Is you need the break. Because I have a partner who does costume making with me, and we used to go to these conventions all the time of okay, everybody's going to show and wear their costumes, but then sometimes we have to go to sell, and sometimes we're just I don't feel like it, so we just go and wear our costumes for fun.
Yeah, you need to keep your passion, the flame burning.
Yes.
And if you just keep working and working and working, that flame sometimes gets a little snuffed. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you need to take little breaks.
Mm-hmm. So when it comes to your interests, what kind of projects do you tend to do? What's your most favorite, crochet, knit, or what type of project do you like to do?
Oh, as everybody says, all the above. I enjoy weaving. I tend to be a practical project person. Rag rugs. Tom Nisley taught me. I took his class on rag rugs, and I enjoy that because it's sustainable.
Upcycling.
It's practical. It's something you use.
Yeah, so if someone had a bunch of fabric scraps, maybe they should learn how to do that.
So I enjoy weaving that way. I do have a union loom for the rag rugs. And I have a rigid heddle loom here where I like to play with clasped weft and make scarves. And my next class, which will be at Redstone Glen with Sarah Bexler, is double weave blanket on a rigid heddle loom. So I will be taking that. I do like to knit. I enjoy doing socks.
I'm getting into socks. Mine are all too big right now. Yeah. I've read you need to make them smaller. but I have some of my hand knits on right now.
Yeah. I enjoy doing toe-up socks.
Yeah.
And I
You
enjoy...
get the most out of your yarn.
I like... Everybody has their preference. I like double point needles. And my trick with the double point needles is when you cake your yarn, okay, you get 2 sets of double point needles, and from the center pool you start your toe with one. When you're done with that, take the outside and you start your toe with the other set of double points.
And then they catch up to each other.
Correct. You don't run into the second sock syndrome.
Yes.
Unless you really enjoy mismatched socks.
I've been wanting to try the 2 at a time on circulars because I tend to like circulars. I just got some really teeny tiny pointed interchangeables for myself for Christmas. So.
Yeah.
But I do like, sometimes messing with the magic loop or whatever is more fiddly than just the DPNs.
Right. So everybody has their preferences, with anything. So yeah, we are mood knitters.
Yes.
So I'm sorry, my husband, but I'm going to use this example. If I'm knitting a sock and this night I'm upset with my husband, I'm going to knit really, really tight. And after I get over being upset, the next night I might be a little more relaxed.
If you get the wine out and it gets loopy.
So instead I ended up with 2 different socks that have 2 different sets of mood knitting. At least I'll have one pair that's the same.
Well, you could always do the really tight gauge when you're on the instep part of the sock. It would fit a little better.
But yeah, we do tend to be mood knitters.
Yeah. I feel like I tend to crochet home decor or practical stuff, and then when it comes to garments I prefer the knitting because it's a little thinner and just, I don't know, I feel like knitting for sweaters is like my favorite.
How the loops are constructed, and the look of those loops with sweaters compared to crochet, it's just different.
And then I find that I'm also like, I always want to do stockinette. I've tried other stitches and they're fun and all. I've just finished a really big cable sweater, but I'm always like, well, I just want one in those colors in stockinette. So I think the process of it, the meditative of it, it's easier when it's all the same stitch. Then it was time to explore the wool mill that was located downstairs. Wow. So people send in their own animals' fiber and then...
Correct. Yeah. So we are more of a service.
Whoa.
This is where we start in the mill.
Okay.
These are all the orders that we need to get done. People farms send in their fibers, their blankets from their sheep, and then we process it to their roving or bats or yarn to their specifications. We have done Samoyed dog, Bernie's mountain dog. Her name was Gertie.
Oh,
it was very special. I made a shawl and a scarf out of that for the people because they weren't crafty, which is fine. And I've done camel, bison. I've hand spun Maine Coon. I was going to say Siamese because you said Siamese. But I've hand spun Maine Coon cat. Okay, over here.
Yeah.
This is our dyeing station. We dye. It's better to dye colors, your fiber, before we spin it to yarn, so you get a better consistency in color, rather than taking yarn that's already done, and then you can get the spatial white.
Yes.
And inconsistent color. This is our intake area, and we have a tumbler where we tumble alpaca first before it gets washed.
Well, because they're dirty, right?
Very dusty. Very, very dusty. And sometimes some of the wool, after it's washed and it still has some vegetable matter in it, we'll put it through the tumbler to see if we can get that out before we card it.
Cool.
And over here we have our new machine.
Ooh.
This is a wet felt rolling machine.
Wow.
So we're going to start playing first and making wet felt sheets. And then from there, I know Kim would like to make some bags, and I'd probably like to make some bags since I sew.
Like wool hats would be cool
Wool
too.
Hats, yeah. And then after we come through intake, we measure everything into 2-pound baskets. because the washing machine is set into 3 different areas. We can put 3 different fleeces, and I like to keep it at around 2 pounds. So intake, they do wash prep. We do 3 baskets around 2 pounds. I'm gonna come over here.
I'm Kim. I am usually doing the carding, but I do all sorts of other random things.
Of course.
She's my right hand.
Awesome. All right.
This is the washing unit, and our washing unit has a recycling unit also. That helps to keep the humidity up when we're carding. If we don't have the humidity up, then it gets staticky and everything sticks together, and it's just a big hot mess. So what that does is it takes the 2 clean rinses, puts them back in there to keep warm. That way we are not pulling from the electric hot water heater so much. So we reuse the hot water, which is good.
Recycle on.
Yeah. And this is what it looks like when it's washed.
Oh, so the 3 sections.
There's 3 sections. They're numbered, so.
So you can keep track of what's in each one.
Correct. And everything gets a tag. So in section 1, we have that's Madam. Madam is a black fleece. And in number 2, we have Jessie. That's a gray fleece. And in, it looks like Tiny's in light fawn in number 3.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Those 2, number 2 and number 3, are going to Kentucky.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow, that's pretty cool. After the washing machine, it goes to the drying rack.
Whoop.
So we have lots of different fibers. Kim just nicely put a system together, which I think you saw the board coming down. Where when we split up, say we have a 6-pound fleece, and we have the 3 sections. Each area of the fleece gets a card to it, so we don't
Mix them together.
misplace it.
Okay.
The drying rack comes over to the picker. And the picker.
A picker.
This is a nasty machine.
Oh, there's rules for it.
Yes, there are. And there's big spikes. And the belt goes in through these rollers.
The picker.
The picker. That's how fast that goes.
Whoa.
So yeah, you don't want to.
No fingers in there.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to put your fingers in there.
Nothing, right?
Yeah, when this one's on, this belt moves. So if you're cleaning, or something, you don't want your tools on there because the tools will go in there and
Oh,
they get
that'll
stuck, and
costly repairs.
that gets to be a mess. The picker throws it into this room.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, just throws
Like
it
the
through
Build-A-Bear stuffing dispenser.
there. Yeah, yes.
It looks like that too.
Yeah, it does get to look like it, doesn't it? And from the picker room, and then it comes over to the carder. I will let Kim talk about the carder.
Oh, okay.
So we are actually missing a piece that is essential to my job. Usually we have baskets kind of like that where it's already been picked, already mostly dry. We don't really want to put wet stuff through, so
there we
that's
go.
all fluffed up and nice and ready to go to the carder. Usually we have a little scale here, and we will zero out the basket, and then we'll weigh a certain amount of ounces to fit on the feed. So the feed sections, there's 3 on this whole conveyor, so we have, like, we want to make sure that the fluffed fleece is evenly distributed between this marker and this marker, and between this marker and this marker, depending on what you want to do, stripes, spots,
Oh, wow.
whatever. And then this part will move all the way through the teeth, which will grab it, and then it will cycle through all of these drums and pokey bits, and each part does its own thing where it takes out like a big clump and it will smooth it out, or it'll take off the last bit of neps and fluff stuff that you really don't want in your yarn, unless you want it in your yarn.
Well, then you can add it later.
Yes. But we have a vacuum attachment, dust collector, that will go up through to the very final stage, and before it goes off this last drum here, this bar will start shaking it off the drum and we'll funnel it into a hole here and it'll go through the false twist and come out the end in a nice tube of roving. So we will have usually 3 baskets of even yardage so that it's easier to calculate the final length of roving to go into yarn. And yeah, it's a lot of math.
It's ready to spin.
Ready to spin. Yeah. If we did it right, then it's consistent. This won't go big gloppy and thin and big gloppy and then have a whole bunch of random stuff on it. So if you did it right, it'll look nice. But
So feeding it in is important to getting it to come out
yes,
even.
and the weight, keeping it consistent and evenly distributed is key.
Consistency.
Yes.
Consistency. After the baskets or the yardages in each of the baskets, I take the 3 baskets, and this is what we call a draw frame. This is not a pin drafter. A pin drafter aligns the fibers completely straight, and that's where you get your worsted.
Yeah.
The word worst.
I get them messed up too.
Well, I look at it as the word worst is actually the best.
I also prefer to spin like that. I
Yes.
haven't tried the other ones just yet.
So this is woven semi-worsted. Some people call it. It depends on all who you talk to. So we'll take 3 of the baskets, and I will bring it through the draw frame. I will calculate my yardages, and it will go into 2 other baskets.
Okay.
From there, I will take the 2 baskets and bring it through again and calculate, and it will come out to 2 baskets. Unless you want a 3-ply, then I have to calculate it to 3 baskets. So I can do a little bit of this. You can just see how. And that's what it does. See how it just straightens it out a little bit? And if you look at this over here, you can see like this is just a little more straight. So that's what the draw frame does.
It draws it out straight.
And there is a little tidbit for you.
Oh, thank you.
From the draw frame,
Okay.
we come over to the spinner, and I happen to have a 4-head spinner plier. Bigger mills will get like the 8-head spinners and then use the 4-head for plying.
I was going to say, why is it called 4-head, but it's 4-head.
Yeah. I'm only one person, so having to run around 8 and 4 all the time, it would be just too much. I prefer to keep it small. Right now I'm plying. This is some alpaca that I just spun up.
Wow.
Okay. So I'm applying that. There's math to this too, especially when you're going for your DK, your worsted. Each of your singles is going to be a little thinner or thicker. This, and I'm going to do a shout out to Katrinkles.
I was just telling her about how I used mine the other day, and it was
Yes.
helpful because she bought it for me at the festival.
And this is wraps per inch single, and I actually have little things on here that this is what would make it 2-ply, so I fit that in there. So where am I at? I'm right about there. So that's going to make a DK weight. So when I'm spinning my singles, I use this a lot.
That's how I got it really even on my yellow one, was I kept checking it on there.
So her tools are wonderful. I'll just give you a little demonstration of applying. Doing smaller batches. Like I think this was only they're only like a 2-pound fleece. So you're not going to get 8 bobbins out of it.
Yeah.
So that's why it's just easier to keep it small.
Yeah.
Oh, this is incredible.
Isn't it? Yeah. From here, when it's done, I can either do skeins or combs. I do mainly skeins. Weavers will like it on combs, so it's just continuous.
Mm-hmm. Ooh,
And that's it for the small batch processing.
awesome. So this is the
All your
organization.
Organization, what's where.
So if we had you spin yarn from a cat, I'm guessing that would be down here.
No, actually, it would be up here. This would be intake, and then once we wash it, it gets moved to this part.
Mm-hmm.
So when helpers come in, I say, go work on the first wash.
Mm-hmm.
And once they get done with each of the cards, it's going to be put in an envelope. And then at the end of the day, I'll put up and move them to the next spot. So we know where the flow is.
Awesome.
And then that way, as I'm spinning, I don't get interrupted 10 million times.
Yeah.
They know what they need to do, and they can go do it.
So it's like a human resource management as well as running the actual mill.
Yeah.
My family and I had an absolutely wonderful time at this cute little cottage up in the middle of nowhere, and I would highly recommend you go check it out as well. Beth offers all sorts of things in her shop. She's got wool to spin, she's got yarn to knit with, she's even got fabric and even drop spindles so you can play around with spinning if you haven't before. There's all sorts of cute examples of things you can make with the yarn in the shop, like these socks, and also just a ton of beautiful shawls and wearables all around the shop. So I would 100% recommend look around near you, find a little shop like this, and go support the small business because you can help someone's dream come true. And I really want to go back now. I keep thinking about what all I could make with all the different rovings that they offer. They have stuff from leftovers from their clients, but also the sheep and alpaca that they raise themselves. They make roving and all that from them, and it's just beautifully displayed. And can you tell I love this shop? Thank you so much to Beth and Kim for letting us come visit. And thank you to those of you who watched this video. And I'll let Beth finish it up. And then do you have anything you want to say as like a promotional, like your hours or where you're located, just so we can include that? So maybe the address and...
Sure. The Maker's Cottage at Sterling Wool Mill. So the Maker's Cottage is upstairs. Downstairs is the mill. I also do quilting, sewing and mending. My big thing right now is memory quilts, memory bears, memory pillows. We are at 1327 Byerland Church Road, and it's in Willow Street, Pennsylvania. And our hours right now, because it's winter, is Thursday and Friday, 10 to 4:30. Saturday by appointment. If you're dropping off fiber or picking up fiber, Tuesday and Wednesdays by appointment for that. That way it gives us time to be down in the mill and actually getting some work done in the mill.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for letting me interview you, and hopefully we get some more people up here getting their fleeces processed and get some of your roving.
Well, if I can add anything more to that, it would be we do offer shearing assistance. There's a lot of new little homesteads that aren't sure what to do, and we do offer advice. We will be there to help you shear and teach you how to skirt your fleeces, and then we will bring them back here to process. So we do offer that.
Awesome. Great. Well, thank you everyone for watching, and feel free to come on by, get some awesome roving or even finished yarns, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.